This video is about how I joined together the panels to make this cabinet. In this cabinet there's a top and then there's these side panels, and they're joined onto here, and I put that together with dowels. There's both sides that join together like that, and there's also an internal dividing wall which also joins like that. I used one of these self-centering dowel jigs. This dowel jig is got different holes for different size drills, and it's got two bushings, which I used 3/8 inch bushings in this one so I could use it for two holes. And I use it together with a small hand drill, and I made a block of wood to go over the drill so that would basically act as a depth stop so that my holes would get drilled exactly to the right depth. So for each set of holes, I very carefully measure where I'm going to put the jig, and that'll ensure that all my dowel holes will align with each other. I also used this jig to guide where I drill the holes in the flat panel. I did this by clamping it to a strip of wood, and on the strip of wood I had my marks for where exactly I should position the jig, and then I just clamped that jig onto the strip of wood, and the strip of wood was clamped onto the panel, and that way I could precisely control the alignment of the holes that I drilled in the flat part of the panel. I had previously made a T-square which essentially works exactly like this. It's already got my marks for all the positions and holes in all the possible positions. So the idea is you just clamp it on there, and then you clamp that T-square by the flanges against the edge of a piece of wood, and you don't have to fuss around with the square or anything. The only problem with this T-square is it was too short for the panels that I was gluing up, and so I couldn't use it, and I didn't feel like making another T-square because most of the time that T-square should be long enough, so that's why I just used a strip of wood. I glued it all together with these short little bits of 1 inch long 3/8 inch dowel. My dowel alignment was close enough that it all worked out pretty well for gluing it all together. Here's set up for gluing on the top panel. Sorry I didn't take any video of that because time is of the essence when you're gluing those things together. I reinforced some of the corners by gluing a right angle piece into them, and the right angle piece is basically these two combs that I made using my screw advance box joint jig, and that makes for a very rigid corner. I needed to glue something in where the drawers went anyways, so that the drawers, when they're pulled part way out, won't tip out. So basically I have these blocks in here, and that's basically just this little thing here. And because this joint is super rigid, that gives the whole cabinet a lot of rigidity. Normally the rigidity for a cabinet comes from the back panel, but this cabinet, the way I joined it together, was super rigid, and even before I put the back panel on, I could actually use it as a base for a hand plane. I didn't need to plane anything, I just did that to demonstrate how rigid the cabinet is. And the beauty of this cabinet is, except for the dowels and a piece of 2x6, it's made entirely out of recycled materials, and it only cost me about $20 to build.